This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, last class we've been talking about XML serialization, XML deserialization. We have used DOM namespace. Before than that, we have seen how to serialize and deserialize JSON. Now today's class, we will focus on the main, one of the most important topic called as HTTP protocol. Now what is a protocol? HTTP protocol in simple word are the carriers. They are the carriers who will carry the data, either it's a JSON or an XML from one system to another system. They are the carrier. TCP IP protocol. You might have heard about it, right? Internet protocol. HTTP protocol, right? Hypertext transfer protocol. Protocol is nothing but these are standards. Standards of what? Standards using or used when a data transfer happens from one system to another system. Whenever a transfer happens, a data transfer, it is the HTTP or the protocol which will take care of your JSON or XML. How can I serialize the JSON? After serialization, I want to send it to third-party system. How can I send it? Through HTTP. I created an XML using DOM. I serialized, I created. How can I give it to a third-party system? Through protocol. Third-party system has given me a response. How the response will be given back to me? Through HTTP. HTTP act as a carrier. They are the signal which carries the data or any information from one end to another end. There are, right, a lot of protocols available. However, the most commonly or very well famous protocol used is HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP. It is one of the most commonly used protocol. Whichever website you go, you see HTTP, HTTPS, secure, any website. That means from you go ahead and type, right, Rupam @LT96 password CRM1234 hash. You type some username and password. From your local system, your username and password is taken to the server. Who takes it? HTTP takes it. It is the work of HTTP to monitor, facilitate data transfer between requester and the responder, or responder and requester. Between the two, it is the HTTP or the protocol which helps. HTTP is a connectionless. HTTP is a stateless. What does that mean? Let's understand. HTTP are carriers. They are the postman. They are connectionless. You go ahead and tell HTTP, or you go and tell the postman, go and deliver this letter to this particular address. The postman will carry the letter, reach the address, will give the letter to the address, and that's it. Connection ends. After that, that is called connectionless. That means once a connection is established, right? Once the data is handed over, HTTP ends the connection. There is no more connection between the server and the client. It closes. Once again, if server says, okay, I got the data, now go and give the data back to, right, requester, a new HTTP connection is created. New HTTP connection. We don't use the same connection. For example, you get a material from Flipkart. You don't like it. You want to return. Is it the same courier person you can give return? No. For return, you have to again request another courier. You have to request for one more return request service, right? So somebody else will come. Today, Ram delivered you. Tomorrow, Sham can come and pick up the package, return package. Same thing here. connectionless. Once an connection is initiated, after the request is made, right, the clients wait for the response. Once the response is given, connection ends. Second time you want something, second request, a new courier boy, new request. Third time you want something, another courier boy, another request. That means there is no active connection between the server and the page, between the two machines, right? Between I want to request www.google.com. Whenever I request, then only, what does that mean, right? Let's go ahead. I go ahead and say www.google.com. If you see my connection, this will be HTTP. Google came. Is it this page is connected to Google now? No. As soon as I type LIGHT, as soon as I say INTG, and then I click on search, now a connection is made. Did it give the result? Yes, there's a lot of result came back. Connection closed. Again, I clicked on this link. What does the INTG stand for? Again, a connection is made. Every time connection is created, terminated, created, terminated. We call them as what? We call them as HTTP is a connectionless. Next, stateless. What is a stateless? HTTP immediately forgets. I just requested for INTG. Next time you tell, hey, last time I request for INTG, he will say, no, I don't remember. You don't made any request last time. These are HTTP are such courier or postman who doesn't remember. Hey, 2 minutes back you gave me this data. He will say, no, sorry, you're wrong. I didn't give any data to anyone. They will simply deny. That's called stateless, right? Once the data is given, complete state is forgotten. That means what data it was
Sir,
given,
we
whom it
cannot
was
see
given, right? You cannot see my screen? Oh,
the
so sad. Okay, right. Now it should be. So don't worry, there's nothing. I'm just giving a. So HTTP is a connectionless. HTTP is a stateless. What is a connectionless? Connectionless is nothing but whenever a browser initiates a connection with a server give a response back. Once the response is given, the server terminates the connection, right? Any new request made will be a new connection. Every time you request something, every request is a new connection. It's not that, right, the connection keeps on established. No, it's not live. The time you request, connection is created, data is transferred. Once the data is displayed on the page, connection terminates. Similarly, HTTP is a stateless. What is a stateless? Where it forgets everything. It don't even remember that just a minute back you withdrawn 500 rupees for the same account in the ATM. You have inserted the card, you withdrawn 500 rupees. Your connections HTTP will never, your courier boy, you enter the PIN. The PIN is taken from ATM to the bank. From the bank authenticates. Bank says, okay, go ahead, give him 500 rupees. Automatically, the connection is established. From ATM gives you 500 rupees. Once the ATM gives 500 rupees, after that, connection is terminated. Now, if you say, hey, I just withdrawn a 500 rupees, he said, sorry, we didn't give money to anyone. Such type of forgetting the previous state, we call them as stateless. So HTTP is connectionless, HTTP is stateless, HTTP is media independent. Whether you are sending what type of files are you sending? Are you sending JSON? Are you sending MP3? Are you sharing just a simple data over a network? Irrespective of the data, what type of data I'm sending, HTTP works, right? In single word, all your between the two system, the communication happens through protocol. Between two system, communication happens through protocol. Through protocol. Now, there are certain concepts here. How does the system will recognize, right, where to go ahead and contact? The way in Flipkart, in postal service, you give an address. House number 8-2-291, right? XYZ colony, Telangana state, Hyderabad. You give a proper address. Same way, every HTTP should have an address. There are three types of addresses available: URI, URN, URL. URI, URN, URL. URI, URN, URL. Most of the time, you know only URL. You might have heard about URL, 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 URL. Now, how does the URL looks, right? Every URL, what is a URL? Uniform Resource Locator. URL will tell you where to go ahead and where is the server. I want to transfer a data between Salesforce to a Facebook. Where is the Facebook server? How can I tell the postman that go to the Facebook, give this data to them? In turn, Facebook will give you data, bring it back to me. Where is this Facebook server? How can I tell a computer that this is the where the Facebook is? This is the where the Twitter is. We do that using URL, URN, URI. Most commonly used is URL. URL is also called as endpoint URL. Endpoint. That means the location from where you have to get the data, or you have to throw the data, or you have to pass the data. Every URL will look how this is how the URL looks. Let's take an example. Any example, any URL I go, right? Any URL I go. www dot, right? Let's say that flipkart.com. URL, right? URL. Now on the Flipkart, I click on this, something it came up. Now I'm copying this Flipkart URL, Control C. I open a notepad, notepad plus plus, notepad plus plus, right? Wait, NOT, notepad. I say notepad plus plus. System is opening. Wait. So what I take a new page I'm taking. I just connected to a URL. Now let's see first how this URL is divided. See, HTTP. Then you see that, keep on watching the number of, right? After a question mark, there is no backspace. If you have observed, backspace mobile, right? Then backspace. Then you have a question mark. After question mark, there is no backspaces anywhere. Question mark. Then you have equal to's. Then you have percentages. Percentage equal to plus. See the URL closely, right? So the same thing we are going to talk now. How does the URL looks? How does the URL looks? Every HTTP will have, the first is called protocol. Protocol. Whatever protocol you are using. HTTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Then the host name. Host name. Flipkart.com is the host name. Then you have a path. Sometimes you have a port, right? Sometimes you see that www dot, right, ICICI Bank, right? Then colon 1225. There'll be port number, right? So every web link has protocol, host name, port name is not compulsory. Then the path. After the question mark, anything is called query. Whenever you see a question mark, that means query. Query. Then whenever you see hash, It's called fragment. Now let's go in our example. HTTP is a protocol. www.flipkart.com is a domain. After domain, so this is protocol. What is this? This is protocol. This is protocol. What is this? This is called domain. Domain. What is this? This is called as path. Path. After question mark, whatever you see, after question mark, whatever you see, this whole is what? This whole after the question mark is query. Query. We call them as query. So query, right? What is this? This is protocol, domain, path, query. If I have a hash anywhere, I don't see any hash. The next is called fragment. If you see hash gg something, then that will be called as what? Fragment. Fragments. Every web link consists of this broken structure: protocol, domain, path, query, fragment. Protocol, domain, path, right? Sometimes you might have, right, port, flipkart.com here 2020, something like this. If you see, then this piece is called domain. This piece is called, right, port, port, port number, port number, incoming port, outgoing port. Port are nothing but, right, connections, port. So this is how the structure looks: protocol, host name, port name, path, query, fragment. Protocol, host name, after the host name or, right, domain name, whatever you call, host name or domain name. Then you have port. After the port, you have path. After the path, you will have query. After the query, you will have fragmentation. Fragmentation. You will have fragmentation, right? Same thing. We see this everywhere, right? Let me go ahead. Login.salesforce.com, right? Now, Rupam at the rate of sorry of91.com, password C, oh no, INDIA 1234 hash. I'm logging in, right? I'm logging in. Can you see the URL now? I copy this URL, Control C. Let's go ahead and paste it. This is the complete URL. HTTP is a protocol, right? Till.com is a domain or a host. Till question mark is a path. Question mark is a query. Till the time I see hash. Do you see anywhere hash, 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 hash? I'm scrolling towards the right side. Oh man, such a long, see? Do you see hash anywhere? No. Percentage, still percentage. I don't see any hash. So we don't have fragment. This is protocol, host, path, query. Anything after the question mark is a query. Remember that. Till the time you see hash is a query, right? This is the composition of an web address. Every web address will composite of this. See, now it's showing only the path. It's showing HTTPS, domain, and the path, right? I go ahead and I open, let's say that custom code. I say Visualforce pages. I'm just opening one page. Let's say page 1, page 2, the one which we created long back. So I say Page 1, I'm opening. See, here it is. Control C. Every link I'm splitting, guys. Right? Paste. Protocol, domain. This is the path till here. After that, the query. Go to this folder called Lightning. Inside the Lightning folder, go to Setup folder. Inside the Setup folder, go to Apex page. Inside the Apex page, there are two types of page. Lightning page, Visual Force page. Go to the page folder. In the page folder, there will be so many pages. Find this page. Right? Find this page. 2F006. That's how the system is locating the page, the information for you. The information has been located for you. I click on preview, system loads the page. Right? Here it is. The page doesn't display data. If you remember, question mark ID is equals to, we used to put the ID here after the question mark. You remember? I told you when we are doing a Visual Force development, question mark ID equals to what? Whichever account you want to display the information. I want to display information about a particular account. Let's say that I go to the sales module, sales. All right, I'm opening one account. I'm just opening one account called as Madhuri account. I copy the ID, I scroll down and I say ID equals to this and you press enter. Immediately system will populate the data. See account name Madhuri. Now you see control C, right? Once again, I'm pasting the URL. HTTP is the protocol. Your host name or the domain is ap16.visual.force.com. Then the path. Where is the page? Here is the page. Once the page comes, in the page, see with a question mark, I'm loading the ID. Automatically, I'm pointing that page with a data. So this is how your page structure or a link structure looks. Link structure. We call them as URL structure. Mostly in integration, we use URL. We don't use URN, we don't use URI. What is a URN? URN is nothing but it will look like this. URN ISBN 9780. Yes. But have you ever typed like this in the web address bar? No, we always type www because 99.99% everyone is habitual of using URL. www.facebook.com, www.x.com, y.com, z.com, right? We are habitual of using URL, but you can also integrate using URN, using URI, right? How does the URN look? URN looks like this. URN with a namespace with a particular standard number. URN Facebook 90302070108121. It'll open my page. You can also do this. But as of today, we don't use URN and URI. We use only what? URL. So let's focus on URL only. Focus on URL. This is how the URL looks, right? That means, first of all, whenever you want to integrate, mute please. Whenever you want to integrate,
What are those numbers on the right side top?
which numbers? These are
HTTP
the
18.
port number. These are the port numbers. Port. SMTP uses 25, FTP uses 21, FTP, not FTD. HTTP use 4. These are default ports. You can go and type in Google, right? Go ahead and type the Google SMTP port number. SMTP port. You can see that it will give you 25, 465, 557. Simple mail transfer protocol. how the email will transfer through this. FTP port, FTP port, just type, it will give you some numbers. Port number 21. FTP protocol uses a port called 21. See, next, HTTP port, HTTP port number. Mostly it's used 8080 or 443. Mostly you will see 8080. Sometimes you might see 8080 port. HTTP uses port number 80 or 8080 or 433. They use this port. These are the port numbers. Port numbers. Port numbers. Port numbers are nothing but connection points, right? One system can have multiple connection point. HTTP connection point is through 80. Through 80th port, this is the port number through which HTTP connection travels. Connection, physical connection travels. Network connection travels to this port. Those are those numbers here called as port number 80, HTTP 443. See, I gave you SMTP 25, right? These are some default port numbers. Need not to worry about it. Now, how does the data, all the data will pass through this link? We will pass the data through this link. We will, and the response also will be through this link. How? Let's understand. HTTP has a 3-tier message structure. Inside this HTTP protocol, we have 3-tier. What is that? Right? Let us go ahead understand. It is a 3-tier. Right? First one, in the header. There are header, one blank line separated, paint. Let me open. Let's understand. How does the HTTP looks? Right? Whenever you are sending any request, this is how the request look, a square box. In that square box, in HTTP, it will look like this. There is a space, blank space, and there is another box. There is a blank space in between. Blank space. This piece is called header. Header. This piece is called body. Body and header. Body, header is separated from body by a blank space. Header is separated from a body by a blank space. You can put the data wherever you want. You can put the data wherever you want. You can put the data in the body, or you can put the data in the header only. Header only. This is how the HTTP request structure looks. HTTP request. I'm requesting something. I'm giving you the phone number. Give me all the details. What I'm giving you? My giving is phone number. Response is details. I'm talking about HTTP request now. Request is giving, right? Getting information is called response. Whenever I want to give a data, this is how the HTTP structure looks. I can put the phone number in the header or in the body. In the header, again, the first line of the header, the first line of the header, the first line of the header, this first line of the header is called header line. Header line, it's very important. This is header line. Header line. This is called the header line. The same structure I'm showing you here. Request line or header line, right? Request line or header line. What does the request or header line will contain? Request or header line will contain 3 things. Number 1, it will contain the host. What is this request or header line will contain? The first line itself will contain what? This will contain 3 things. 01, host name, host address, right? whom to contact, go to Facebook. Then it will say www.facebook.com. Number two, second, it will contain what? It will contain, right? It will contain, second, it will contain method, get method, post method, get method, post method. Get, that means I'm telling the request that don't terminate the connection after you contact host. Give the data, wait outside for 2 seconds. They will give you something back and bring it back to me. That is called get. Get will give you both request plus response. Post will give you only giving the letter and coming away. That's it. Go ahead, give the letter and come with empty hand. That's called post. Get, go, give the letter, don't come with empty hand. Get the response from the address, bring it back to me. So data is going, data is coming in get. In post, only the data is going. These are called methods. I have method. Third one, what is the third one? Third one is your versions. Content, use your versions. What type of versions are you using? Right? HTTP 1.0, HTTP 2.0, all those are available here in this. The third one, the header contains 03 version. The first line is very important in integration. In the response, the first line in the request or response, HTTP, what is this? This is a HTTP structure, HTTP protocol structure, HTTP protocol structure. I'm making a request. Total, right? There'll be header, space, body. In the header, the first line is called header line. First line. That's the reason I'm coloring. First line is very important. First line. This contains host address, what type of postman you're sending, and what is the version of the postman. The second line onwards in the header, line 2, line 3, line 4. Now the next lines. Line 2, line 3. Till the time you have a space. Line 3, line 4. Now I'm coloring it. Line 2, line 3, line 4. There are 3 lines. What does this 3 lines contain? The second line is called as, right? Here you will be able to see content type. What type of data, additional information about the data. What your postman is carrying. This will contain, right? Line 2 onwards. Line 2 onwards. It will carry what? It will carry information about the data. Information about the data. It will carry what? Data. Information. It will carry the information about the data. Then the blank space and then the body. Body contains what? Body contains the data. Information about the data. Here is the data. Information about the data is been stored in line number 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. Whether it's an XML, whether it's an HTML, XML, whether it's a JSON, all those information will be carried in the header. That means this courier boy is carrying a JSON. To whom it's carrying? What does the courier boy should do? He should wait, or he should just give and simply come back. Right? All those informations are available in the header. This complete part is called header. This complete part is header. blank space, body. This is how the structure of HTTP looks. So request, first line is called request line or header line, right? Header line contains what? Right? It contains three things. It contains, right, the URL host. It contains what type of courier boy he is, get, post, right, method, and then it will contain the version. First line. Second line, you can see that it contains the content type, whether it's a JSON, whether it's an XML, whether it's an right HTML, all this. And the body contains data, optional. I can pass the information directly in the second line or first line. I can pass the information in second line. First line is request line. Second line is right in the header. The second line is nothing but information line. Second line onwards, it carries the information about the data. So in the first line itself, I can pass a data. I can pass a data in first line. I can pass a data in header. I can pass a data in body. I can pass the data anywhere. Remember this very well. I can pass the data anywhere. I can pass the data in header, right? I can pass the data in the body. Data can be in the body. Data can be in the header, anywhere. This is my data, my JSON file. I can put the JSON file here, or I can put the JSON file here. I can put anywhere. In real time, right? Where do where do we put? You have to put it manually, guys, and that's what I'll show you. How do I put it? We'll see it once we start doing practically. Where to put in real time? Mostly if it's simple, we put in the header. If it's complex, if it's a big data, I mean, I'm sending a huge set of data, then we send through body. If it's a big data, big XML file, big JSON file, we send it through body. If it's a small JSON file, in that case, we just go ahead and we do what? We just go ahead and we put it on the header itself, on the header. This is how the structure looks. This is request structure. When the system is giving back the data, structure is same. There also first line, right, is crucial. In the first line, the status will be there. When I'm getting a response back, there also header, blank space, body. Header consists of again two. First line is called status line. Second line is called request header. Same structure when you request. The whole HTTP is divided into two. The top one, the first one is called header area. Then there is a blank space. After the blank space, it's called body area, right? The first line is called request line when you're sending. When you're retrieving or receiving the data, then we call them as request or response structure. In the response, the first line is a status. It will tell you, okay, fail, page not found, internal server error. It will give you status code 200, 400, 500. You might have seen 404, page not found. Whenever you go and browse anything, it says 404, page not found. From where? It is in the first line itself. Second line will contain same thing. Second line in the header will contain what? It will contain what type of file it is, whether it's a JSON file, whether it's an XML file, right? What type of file it is, it will be contained there. And body will contain what? It's an optional, not a mandate. Body will contain, right? Body will contain, right? It will contain the data. Whatever the system is giving back the data, it will be there in the body, or it can be there in the header first line itself. Your wish, you can put it in the there or here, right? It has been controlled. This is how the structure of HTTP response, HTTP request looks. This is HTTP request. HTTP response. Both has same structure. Header, blank space, body. Header is divided into two pieces. First line is called header line, or also called as request line. When it's response, we call them as status line. Right? Request header, response, and the second line is called response header. Request header, response header. Request header, response header. Body, body. What does the status line contain? It will contain, right, success or failure with the ID. Next, what does the right request header contains? It will contain what type of data it is: HTML, XML, JSON. Body will contain the data. This is how the structure looks. Right? Now, I know, quite confusing. Rupam, you're telling something, we're listening. Fine. Let's understand. When we do practical, everything will be clear. In Salesforce, to handle this protocol, to create this protocol, you have to create this structure. To create this protocol, we have 4 classes available under the namespace system. Under system namespace, we have 4 classes: HTTP class, HTTP request class, HTTP response class, HTTP mock callout mock class. There are 4 classes available: HTTP class, HTTP request class, HTTP response, HTTP callout mock. HTTP class. Use HTTP class to initiate an HTTP request or response. Right? Whenever you want to create a HTTP request, whenever you want to generate a protocol, use HTTP class. HTTP will create the structure. What structure? Request structure or response structure. To handle request, you have HTTP request. To handle response, you have HTTP response. Right? So total 4. Out of 4, the 3 class are very important. HTTP, HTTP request, HTTP response. What is that HTTP? It's a protocol. All your data transfer between the two systems will happen through protocol. Through protocol only. Through protocol. Through protocol. Right? Hence, to create those protocol, Salesforce is providing you some inbuilt classes. Total, there are 4 classes. Whenever you want to initiate a integration, you have to start with HTTP. HTTP work is to initiate and hypertext transfer protocol request. It immediately generates a signal. When it says generate a signal, it generates that request structure that I just told you. It will create a structure with header, blank space, body. In that structure, I want to pass some information. In that case, I have to use HTTP request. Request will help you to right? Request will help you to form or to create the HTTP request structure. Response will help you to create HTTP response structure. Right? Response is nothing but getting the result back. Requesting, request and response. I request for a data, system will give me the data. We call them as request and response. Right? I ask Facebook will reply me. Asking is request, replying is response. Asking is request, replying is response. Right? Response class. Now, let us see. Inside the HTTP class, there are 2 methods: send as well as toString. Send toString. Send is nothing but to send a request. ToString is nothing but bring it back, converting it. Whatever the response I got, I want to convert as a string. Giving, sending sending and receiving. Sending is done with a send method. Receiving is done with a toString method. Inside the HTTP, there are two methods available. Send method, whenever you want to send a request to a third party, sending a request. I'm giving you a phone number. I'm giving a phone number. That is called sending a request. Corresponding details, when that third party system is giving you back, that's called response. After you get the details, you have to get the details, download the details in your local machine. To do that, we used to use what? ToString command. ToString. ToString is for receiving. Right here, receive is not there. The word is ToString through HTTP class. Same way, request class has, right? Request class has so many methods. Body, get body, get body as blob, get endpoint, get. Get is to bring, set is to send, set endpoint, set header, set method, right? Header, what is set header? First line. Set method. In that first line, you can set what type of method? Post, get method, post method. There are system defined methods available. We'll talk about it. What is a post method? What is a get method? We'll talk about it. Mostly we will use get method. What is a get method does? Get method tells the HTTP that takes the data to the server, wait, server will give you a data back, bring that data back to me. To and fro, to and fro. To and fro is done with get method. We design the structure of an protocol using HTTP request class. With a HTTP request class, you can create, right? You can request get, post, put, delete. There are only 4 methods available. Get, post, put, delete. There are 4 methods available. As I start writing the programming, you'll be able to understand. For now, just understand the theoretical. If you're able to understand 50%, that'll be enough. We don't need 100%. As you do inside, you'll be able to understand. HTTP request class is, right? We use this class to create a request. To create a request. You can use XML or JSON to parse, right? Or, right, you can use and pass the content to a body. You can see that usage. Use XML class or JSON class to parse XML or JSON content in the body for a request created by HTTP. So whatever the, right, whatever serialization you're doing using an XML or during an XML or JSON, we will pass that data to the request structure using HTTP request. Similarly, right? Similarly, right? Similarly, HTTP response. What is that? Whenever the server is giving you a response, whenever a server is giving you a response, those response are collected, right, by a structure called as HTTP response. To read that structure, you need to have response, HTTP response class. HTTP response class. Here, what is that? We deserialization. That means whatever the data that is coming, we have to deserialize it. Where the data will be, the data can be in the header or the data can be in the body. Data can be in 2 places. It can be in the header, it can be in the body. It can be in the 2 places. If it's in the header, how to read the data from the header is using an HTTP response class. If the data is on the body, how to read the data from the body and deserialize it is in the HTTP response class. So response class will give you, right? Class will give So how to get the data back from the server is HTTP response class, right? Now let's do this practically. Let's understand, how this is to be done, right? So let me log off, right? I'll do practical. Theoretical part, just have a common understanding. Once I start doing it, you'll be able to understand what happened. Okay. .com. Can you hear me, guys? Can you hear
Yes,
Yes,
me?
sir.
sir. Yes, yes.
Yes, sir.
Guys, can you? Yes.
Sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good. Now,
Yes, sir.
okay, sorry, there was a little gap there. So let's understand. Once again, I'll write notepad. Finally, Rupam, what is the summary? Summary is that, right? There are three types of classes available. What are those? HTTP class, first one. Second one, HTTP response, HTTP response, and the third class is called, sorry, second one HTTP request, then the HTTP response, right? HTTP REQUEST, request and response. These are the class you have to understand, right? So what are the different types of methods available? Methods. Methods. What are the different types of methods? Get, post, put, delete, header. These are the different methods available, right? These are the different methods available, right? So these are the methods available. Wait, you'll understand. Next, you need endpoint URL. Endpoint URL. What is this? Where this URL will be? It will be in the header. Always remember that. It will be in the header. Endpoint URL, right? So endpoint URL. What is that? www dot, right? www.rupam.com. Go ahead to this domain, right? From there, go to materials. I will pass a keyword called as integration. Get me all the material of integration. This is where my integration material is lying. Let's take an example. This is where my integration material is lying. Let's take an example, right? This is where my material is lying. Let's take an example, right? I want to contact this website called www.rupam.com/material. Here, so many materials are there. Lightning materials are there. LWC materials are there. Visual Force materials are there. Which material you want? I want integration material. How to request this? Keep on watching. How to write it? 01. I'm writing now. HTTP. I'm writing a class. HTTP request. Request. Always in the real time request, we call them as request. Equals to new HTTP request. New HTTP request. Right? Now, one blank request is created. What is this created? One blank request. This blank request is created. On that blank request, there is a header, there's a blank space, and then there is a body. This is what we just created. Header, this piece is header. This piece is body. This is empty space. Empty space. I just, this command what I wrote, HTTP request equals to new request. We created just a new request. On that request, I will say request dot set. First line has to be always what? If you remember, I told you first line should contain URL, the location. Set endpoint. Set endpoint. Endpoint as what? Here I'll give my endpoint. Endpoint is this. Next, okay? Next, you have to give the URL. Next, on that request dot what? Set method. What type of method you want? What type of method you want? Here it is. Get. 90% will use get. Get method. Get method. Get method. Get method. Right? Get method. Right? So you have to have a URL. You should have a method. These two things are compulsory. You should have a URL. You should have a method. My request is ready now. On that request, I'll add something that all we'll see later. Now, 02. Right? Your URL, I'm giving you the URL. URL is what? https slash www dot http www dot icicibank.com slash new customer or slash login slash login slash login. This is the URL I'm giving. Right? Two things are required for every, right? For every integration, you need to have a URL compulsory. Next, method. Method is what? I will say post. Here I'm saying post. Now write integration. How do you write integration? Same thing. Right? What is that? Starting line. HTTP request request req. You can give anything name. Rec equals to new HTTP. New HTTP request. Req dot what? Set endpoint URL. Set endpoint. You will set this. Whatever is given to you. Immediately, next line should have method. Rec dot set method. What is the method I told you? ICICI Bank doesn't support get, it support only post. In post, the data will be in the body. In get, data will be in the header. In post, data will be in the body. In get, the data will be in the header. Right? Data will be in the header. Right? So this is how you form an HTTP request. This is how you form an HTTP request. Right? This is how you form an HTTP request. Right? HTTP request. Now, let's do a live integration today itself. Right? So today we'll not do, I'll just show you the structure and then we will leave it. Today, what we are going to do, if you remember, we are going to integrate Utrace. First thing I'm going to do is Utrace. Locate your IP address. Here it is. Utrace. 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 Utrace, right? In a Utrace, what you can do? Here it is, Utrace. IP address and system will tell you in X. System will give you a response like this. You pass an IP address to here, system will give you a response like this. So you pass information here, system will. Now let's do why to wait for tomorrow. Let's do it right now. Let's do right now. So where is the URL? Here is the see. Please use this query URL. This is the URL. This is the URL is given to you. See method, right? I need a method also, right? If there is no method given, then default method is get.
Hello, hello, hello.
I'm writing a class. Keep on watching, right? I'll be writing a class now, right? So what I'm doing, let's see, right? So what happened? It's still coming up. Let's wait. Right. Oh, it's not there. Setup developer console. Hope that the developer console will open now. Yep, there we go. I make it full screen. File, new class. I will say intg integration. PL underscore intg integration underscore real time. All real time I'll put RT. Integration RT underscore 2707 underscore Utrace. 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 XML. This is an XML integration. Utrace XML. I'm creating a class. Keep on watching. Now, right? Public string. If I give a IP address, then that system will give me the location and everything back, some details back. So declare IP address. Public string IP address. I will say get set. Set get. Next, keep on watching. System will give me the response back in a body. So I will say body, body, body. In the body, the response will be given. Okay. Next, I'm declaring one more. Status. It'll give me status code 100, status code 500, right? Status. Finally, my result, my final output is the data. I'm creating one more called data. Data. I'm creating one more called data here, right? Okay, right? Data. I'm creating a data. Now let's watch. Little bit tough first time, right? I'm creating a method. Public void. What is the method? Call service. Call Utrace. Call Utrace. That's the method name. My method start, method ends. What is the first step? First step is that whatever the string, I have to have an endpoint URL. Where is the endpoint URL? String. String what? E, right? String, right? ENDPOINT. I'm giving the name as endpoint. String endpoint equals to, where do you want to integrate? I want to integrate what? Utrace. Where is that? Here it is. This is the URL. This is the URL. Control C. See, complete URL. I'm copying. Keep on watching. URL. Plus what? Whatever the IP address that was given. IP address. If I say 10.20.30.1, see, I'm forming an endpoint URL. Endpoint URL I'm forming. Right? This is the complete is an endpoint URL. Right? Plus here I should have what? See the structure there. Right? On the top. xml.utrace.com. Right? Query equals to, here is the IP address. If I put 88 in the place of 89 and I press enter, system will show, see, something, GHMB, it's in Germany. If I put here 72, press enter, it's also changing to AG. I don't know where is that, right? Dache Telecom AG. It's provide me some details. D, it's a Germany. D, it's providing some Germany code, right? If I go ahead, right, login, LOGIN, login history. Let me copy one IP address from here. Let me copy. So many IP addresses are there. Let me take this IP address 27.59.161. I go here. I remove the IP address and I'm pasting the IP address here. It will give me Bharati Airtel Kolkata. Somebody has logged in from Kolkata. I can see. See that? To this URL, I'm passing a data. Same thing I'm doing here. This is the endpoint URL. To that URL, I'm passing the IP address. First step is done. Second step, HTTP equals to new HTTP. I'm creating HTTP connection. New HTTP. Perfect. Next. Now one HTTP request protocol has been created. P stands for protocol. A protocol has been created. Inside that protocol, I need to have the request structure. To create a request structure, what is that? HTTP request. I always use the word called request. You can say R, you can say rec, equals to new HTTP request. New HTTP request. New HTTP request. HTTP request. Next, what is that? In this request, if you see this, whenever you create a request, first thing is that you have to set the endpoint URL. Same thing I'm doing here. Next, new HTTP request. Right now, in that request dot, what is that? Request dot set set endpoint. What is my endpoint? My endpoint is endpoint. See, endpoint. In this, if you remember that, I've set what? HTTP www.iccibank.com. The same thing. What is this endpoint? Endpoint is containing the same thing, www.html, xml.utrace.de. Done. Next, I need to have what? Immediately the next step is method. Request dot. What is that? Set method. By default, if nothing is given, use get. Get. Get method. Get method. Now, perfect. We are ready to send the request. Now, we are going to go ahead and we have to, after sending it, I have to get the response, right? So I'm writing the steps here, guys, by the way. Step one, create endpoint point URL, create or identify. Step two, what is the step two? Initialized HTTP protocol. I'm initializing HTTP protocol. Next, create request structure. Step three, create request structure. Next, on that request structure, step 4, on request structure, right? Set endpoint. That is nothing but address. On the structure, on that structure, which structure we are talking about? This structure we are talking about, the diagram that I was showing you. This structure I'm talking about. In that structure, set the endpoint URL. I'm sending the endpoint URL. Next, set the method. Step 5, on request structure, set method. Set the method. Once it's ready, now we are ready to post. Done. Post is nothing but sending, right? Sending. What I will say, while sending, I will get the response also back. I will tell the courier boy this reference, this structure. I will tell, go take the URL, take the IP address, right? Go to this Utrace and give the IP address to them. Don't come back empty. Come back with some information. So for that, what I will do, right here it is, right? Here, both sending and receiving is one step. Sending and receiving is a one step. Now we are ready to send. How to send how to make a right integration call? HTTP, right? HTTP response. Whatever the response I'm getting, we always call as response. Request we call request. Response, REQRES. Response is equal to, right? Is equal to, okay? Is equals to. What is that protocol? P dot send. P dot send. What to send? The request structure that we created. This is whole creating a request structure. You can see that. Whole is request. That request, I'm now, whatever I initialized the P, on that P, I'm attaching the request. The request will go and I'll get the response. The request will go and I'll get the response. Request will go and I'll get the response. Perfectly fine. I'll get the response, right? What will be the response? What will be the response? How you are getting the response? Response is in XML. Response is in what? Is in XML. That means whatever the response I get, I have to do what? I have to do deserialization. I have to do. Till here, I'm forming a request and I'm requesting. I just need an IP address. No serialization required. Just an IP address. Pass an IP address. Whenever you pass an IP address, this will give you a response. Where this will be stored? It will be stored in the response, right? The whole data, whatever you are able to see, this whole will be stored inside that structure now. That's response structure, it will be stored. Those who are not able to understand, let's understand with a diagram. What I just did, don't save. What I just did, let me take this whole piece. Okay, no. What I just did, this is the programming I did. What I just did, right? First, I have a address where I have to go, whose door I have to knock to get the details. You have to go and knock, right? Next, what you did you just created one HTTP request. This is your HTTP protocol. HTTP protocol. Protocol. You just created an HTTP protocol. This is what you did with this step. You just created an HTTP protocol. It's a signal. Inside the signal, I need to have a structure. This is the structure, purple color. This is now the next. I created what? I created a structure. Next, I created a structure. Message structure. What this message is? This is my request / response. Both are same. This will take the data. What this will take? In this, I'm passing the URL. In this square structure, I'm passing the URL. In this, I'm passing the URL. Because the structure contains what? The structure contains, right, what? The structures contains header, blank space, and there is a body. This is how the structure, this is the message response structure, request structure. This is what I created. In this, the first line is the URL line. You know this very well. The first line, header line, is the URL line. In that URL line, what I just did, I just passed the web address. I just passed this web address. Right? Not only that, here I also pass the same method. Not only that, so in the first line itself, my URL, and then what I did, then I created a response and I passed this response to this HTTP protocol. And then I said, protocol, now go out. I kicked the protocol out. This box is now going and contacting the server. Right? This box knows because there is an IP address, there is a URL there. There's an IP address there. Right? It's a request taking in. I told method as get, that means the response will also come in this format. The response, the same thing I just did. Right? Exactly the same thing. Now, after sending the request protocol, I will get the response. After sending the request, I will get the response. I have to read this response. Response will be in what format? Response will be always in a what format? String format only. Everything is in XML. XML is also string. JSON is also string. Now you see that body. I'm using the body. Body equals to, right, response dot get body. Where the data will be? The data will be here in this. In this, my data will be there. Data. In the response, when the server is giving back the data to me, like this, it's coming in. The data will be in this body area, right? This is your header area. This is your body area. Tell me where this all details will be there. Bharati Telecom, Hyderabad, Kolkata, where it will be there? It will be in the body. So that's exactly, now I'm reading the body. Body equals to response dot get body. From the response, get the body. From the response, get the body. From the response, get the body. Body equals to response dot this thing. Body equals to response dot this thing. Control S, done. Now let us see whether it works or not. Over, integration is over. But we still have to do so many things. We have to do deserialization. Whatever the response I got, it's an XML. From an XML, I have to take the data out. That is what you have to now do the remaining piece. Before I do the remaining piece, let's see. File, new, Visual Force page. Okay, format. Let me copy this. File, new, Visual Force page. I will say VF. I'll say, okay. I will say Apex page controller. Controller is what? Controller is my this name, my class name. Controller, right? Inside this, I will say Apex form. Apex form, one form command, right? Inside the form command, what I will do, right? For the moment, I'm taking very simple thing. Apex input input text. Apex input text. Input text. Value. Whatever you enter here, I want it to go to where? To this IP address. IP address. To the IP address. To the IP address. Right? IP address. Next, what do you want? Next, I want a command button. Apex command button. Value. Value equals to what? Get IP details. That's a button name. Get IP details. Action. What? Call this method. Re-render and refresh the output. Refresh the output. Where is that? Re-render. Re-render what? We'll see. Re-render output OP. Where is OP? Right? In the same form below, I will give, right? What I will say? I will say, right? Let us display the result directly. I will say data RECIEV received from Utrace. Utrace. What? Exclamation. Where is the data? In the body. Body. Over. Control S. Will it work? No, it will not work. You have to copy this URL. Control C. Now you have to go to your under security. Under security. You have remote site settings. You have to add there remote site settings. If you don't add in the remote site settings, system will not make a call, right? I go to remote site setting. I will say Utrace. Utrace. I paste it here. I'll say save. Add it in the remote site settings. Add in the remote site settings. Add in the remote site settings. Every integration URL to be added here, right? Unblocking. That means I want to unblock remote site settings. Now done. Let's go to the page. Let's click on preview. See, I get a text bar, one button. Right now, let's go ahead and add any IP address. See that. So let me go ahead and once again type login login history. And pick up any IP address. I'm randomly picking up this IP address called 157.48. Control C. I go here. I paste. I say get details. Get IP address. What happened? I didn't got any response back. Right? I should be able to get the response back, but looks like that. Right? Okay. That's because maybe. Okay. Right. Okay. Because let's take this Apex input input text area. I'm taking input text area. Value equals to what? Exclamation body. Right? ID equals to what? I'll say OP. Refresh OP, no? So let us see. Control S. Preview. Here it is. Go to the copy the IP address. Click on get IP. Can you see the response? See, I got the response. See, in Salesforce, without going to website, it's Indonesia. See, how did I integrate and I got the information? Next, copy any IP address. Control C. I'm in Visual Force. Control V. Get IP address. See, you got the details. It says Dell, country IN, right? See, it's giving you the result. From where I'm getting this result? What is the response I'm getting? I'm getting an XML. What is the response I'm getting? Is it a JSON response? No. I am sending an IP address, whereas a third-party system is giving me a response back in XML. Everyone knows how to deserialize this XML now. From here, I want to take the meaningful information out. That's where your deserialization classes were on. See that integration is so simple. You give me any IP address, right? Any IP address you give, right? Give any IP address. Pick up anything from anywhere. I am picking up this 27.61. Control C. See, I got it. Bharati Airtel Limited. Erode. Oh, somebody logged in from Kerala. Erode, India. Longitude, latitude. It's giving you the location. Somebody logged in from Erode. Erode is a place in Kerala, if somebody knows it. Erode Junction. See, Bharti Airtel Erode. This IP address. from where I got it. Able to understand, guys? Right? Columns, I will say 80. Rows, I will say 80. Control S, I'm just trying to see whether I'm getting a big box or not. Oh, too much big box I have. 80 is bigger, so I'll say 30. 30, 30, 30. Control S. See, first live integration. First live integration. Type any IP address here, right? 12.13.198.66. If it's a correct IP address, get details. See, I just type blank. It's US IP address, it seems. US. Region is not there, but AT&T, AT&T AMP IT services, US. From I'm getting the response in what? I'm getting the response in, right? I'm getting the response in XML. Now you know how to deserialize the XML. Guys, able to understand how did I did my integration now? Simple program I have written. See that? Now this body I have to deserialize. What is this body? This is what? What is this? This is what? What type of response it is? It is an XML response. Now let's start deserializing. Deser what? Deser XML. Deser XML. How to deser? How do you do that? Tell me immediately. Everybody should be knowing it. How to do that, right? How to deserialize? First, what is that? DOM dot document. Doc. I have been already last week. We have done this. DOM dot doc equals to new DOM dot document. New DOM dot document. Next step. It's a blank land. It's a blank pot. On that, load the XML file. Load the XML file. What is the next step? Right? Doc dot load. Doc dot load. Load what? XML. Where is the XML? The XML is the body. I'm loading the body. Now find the root. DOM dot XML node root equals to what? Right? Where is the root? It's in the doc. Doc dot get root element. Get root element. I got the root. What else you want? In the root, there are child. There are nodes. DOM dot. Nobody should get confused because I already did this. DOM dot XML node. Right? Now there are so many information there. Right? Let us see the structure. Right? Result is a root. In that, I have result, IP, host, ISP, org, right? So I have one. If you copy this structure, Control C, I'm pasting it here. Break this XML, right? Or Notepad. I told you, I gave you this homework saying that from this XML, take the region out. Result here. Oops, sorry. So root. There we go. Result is the root. Result is the root, right? Results is the root. In that, result is there. Inside the result, so many are there. I have to deserialize it. I have to deserialize it. I have to deserialize. I have to deserialize this, right? How can I take the data out? ISP name is this, region is blank, country code is US, longitude, latitude, all these things I want to take it outside. How the data is given to me? The data is given to me in XML format, right? We are running out of time. We will do it, continue tomorrow, right? We will continue tomorrow. So I'm stopping the program here itself. Today, we have seen how to go ahead and integrate a third-party website using an HTTP. See, I integrated and I got the response. Now I want to read the response and I want to consume the response. The response, I got it in what format? I got it in XML format. Those who want to continue, they can continue this program. I'm sharing this program with you. Continue this program and you yourself deserialize and give me the data. Deserialize and give me the data. That's the homework. Nobody should say that, I don't know, sir. We already did this deserialization. You open any class, right? Open classes, integration underscore deserialize, right? Right? Integration. Deserialize what? See, deserialize XML, right? Deserialize. Open. See, dom.document, new document, load XML, then node. See that how I'm doing it? Create a DOM document, load the received XML file. The same thing I'm doing here. Create a DOM document, load the XML file. Where is the XML file? Body. From the body, I got the XML file. Load it and continue this. Continue this. Same thing I'll do. You continue yourself and get me the result out. Get the result out. Guys, able to understand everyone what I'm doing? Yes or no? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
That's good. Right? This is the only extra program. After that, your serialization, deserialization will remain same. Right? Your deserialization remains same. The same program will continue. We will do it tomorrow and we will see further. So till then, thank you. Keep practicing, right? I'll show you more examples. Don't worry, you will learn. Today, if you understood 50%, that's enough. Thank you, guys. Have a nice and wonderful day. Bye-bye, guys.